Saturday's game and what you're looking forward to with the trip to Pullman this weekend.
Yeah, every Sunday after a game, win or lose, is what we call truth. We speak the truth on Sunday, and there was some positive. There was obviously some negative as well. Some things we needed to correct from the game, but because the styles are so different from Stanford to Washington State, we spent a little bit of time on correctional film, but after that we moved straight on to Washington State and trying to get ready for what they do, because they're a little obviously different than what we've seen the last couple of weeks offensively and defensively.
Rich, how are you assessing right now what Brandon is seeing in the passing game? It seems like there are throws that he can make. He makes some really beautiful throws, like the one he hit with Nate, but then there seems like there's other plays where he's just not seeing what he's.
Well, there's first off, it's probably need to say this, as you all know, that's the hardest position to play in sports, period. There's nothing that compares to it, and I know everybody wants to be critical, and there's nobody more critical of me when I'm coaching them, but again, to play that at a high level and play it effectively is really tough, and particularly when the pieces around you are sometimes new, whether it's up front or on the perimeter or at running back. And so, you have to be, sometimes I think it's comical when people are overly critical of any quarterback play when they, one, never coached it or ever played it. So I think our guys competed pretty well. Certainly Brandon has made some plays. There's some things in the passing game that looked like we were a little rusty. Looked like the quarterbacks missed some time in practice, which they had. Both Brandon and Anu missed a lot of practice time, and that affects you a little bit, but they're still good players. And they're doing some good things, but we can get better there, and we can play better overall at that position, and I think we will going forward.
You put Anu in, obviously, in that second half of the ball game. How much of that was dictated that Brandon had kind of hit his knee or got his knee hit there on that first series? I mean, was that?
No, I don't. What I think of the knee. I think we told Anu he was going to play, and then when he went in there, some of the things that didn't work right weren't his fault. So, but again, that's where some people don't know, the entire situation. But we just weren't executing well at times offensively, no matter who was the quarterback back there. And some of it had to do with us, but some of it had to do with dudes they had pretty good too.
How did Samaji's effort look when you were able to really slow down?
Really proud of it. We thought he'd play well because he's a competitive guy and he's a good football player, but he was still learning the position. I thought Coach McGee did a great job with him, and as the game went along, Samaji got more and more comfortable with it. He was seeing things, pressing the blocks well, and we're going to keep him there. With our injury situation and running back, I'm glad we have Samaji, and I think he's if he can stay healthy, not get that bug, we'll knock on wood, but I think he can be pretty good. I'm excited for him to be there.
The play where he tried to cut back but ended up in a big loss, is that?
Yeah, that's just
he's
just trying to do too much. It was a bad call, and they played it well, and you take the 3 or 4 yard loss and then you move on, and he was just trying to make something happen.
Are you surprised, given how much experience you have on offense, you and of course the players, that you guys haven't been scoring as much as you're used to the last few weeks?
Yeah, disappointed. Some of it has been, we know about the quarterback situation, the last few weeks. We know about the running back situation. So that's thrown it off a little bit. And there's been times we've been really close, but, we expect to score and move the ball, and when we haven't been able to do that at times this year, it's been disappointing.
Have you ever looked at what Washington State, Mike Leach does and say, that'd be fun to try it that way?
Yeah, I look at everybody. I look at what they've done over the years. I mean, in the off season, we look at what they've done. What anybody that scored a lot of points, whether it was their style or what Baylor was doing or what Alabama was doing, what anybody. That's what we do as coaches in the off season. We'll continue to do that. I do it during the season too. Like during the open date last week, I watched 3 or 4 games of opponents that we don't even play, just because they scored a whole lot of points. There was for instance, Texas Tech Oklahoma game. There's like 1 million yards and points scored. I'm like everybody else. I'm curious, like what happened? What did that do? So I watched that game to see. But you're not going to stall a whole offense. But if you get one little piece that you think you guys can execute, but as coaches, I think sometimes we do too much. We know, oh, that looks like a good play, let's put it in, and then all of a sudden you got too much stuff and your guys have to think too much and can't execute.
When it comes to styles of play, Rich, are coaches willing to try anything, or does it come down to like personal preferences, some things you dislike and certain things?
Yeah, I think you have to have a philosophy. I don't think you can be so hard-headed that you can't, do, the square peg, round hole thing and try to make your guys do something that they can't. But I think you also have to have a philosophy that this is the way we're gonna approach it, and then have enough adjustments to be able to have success against any team. When you're not scoring now, everybody wants to look at, players or coaches or a combination of everything. But we go back to like, okay, the system's been pretty good in the past. We can score points against, I've seen every kind of defense known to mankind. So a lot of times it's just getting them in the right play and executing that play when it's called.
What you've seen from Washington State, how do you assess why they're different in these last 6 games than they were in the first 2 that they lost?
They're obviously playing with a lot of confidence. They're executing better. They've been able to. They're one. It's a prime example. When they started off rough, they didn't abandon their system and go to something completely different. They just stuck with what they're doing and started executing better. And they got a veteran quarterback, veteran wideouts, their veteran offensive line. So, they just stuck with what they're doing, and they started all of a sudden start clicking and playing better.
How is it different though, that air raid, now that they seem to be running the ball a little bit more than they have?
Well, they're running when you give them the numbers to run. I think that's the biggest, any spread offense, one of their main principles is to run and throw with the numbers. And they've been able to do that.
What have you made of the secondary's progress in the past few weeks, especially now that Jace is playing more in corner?
Yeah, the last week obviously was a different game because we were bringing a lot of pressure and playing the run so much because we knew that was the first thing we had to stop. And so we did a whole lot of different blitz packages, put the corners on one-on-one situations almost the entire game. So that, I thought they acquitted themselves pretty well. There were a couple of plays that we gave up, but but this week's a whole little different deal. We got a different system to prepare for. And this will be as challenged as we've been from a pass defense standpoint, certainly all year.
What do you tell your secondary when you gotta cover the pass 50, 60 times a game?
We better be in shape. That's the first thing. And I don't, you like to play a lot of guys if you could. I'm not sure we're going to be ready to do that physically. But there is, I don't think you can just show one defense and play that whole defense or expect them to be in the same coverage the whole game where they'll just eat you up.
If you were commissioner of the Pac-12, would you still play 9 conference games? Would it be your preference to go to 8?
Well, not to speak for our athletic department, I think if you had 8, it's a lot easier to schedule your home games and bring in a Power 5 non-conference team on a home-and-home situation and all that. But it's been 9, it'll stay 9. And the only thing about 9 is that there's 5 in a row, 4 at home, so it's uneven every year. And not every Power 5 conference has that. So that in a championship game makes the road to the playoffs so much harder, I think, in our league than maybe others. But I think the Big Ten's going to that now. It's not that big a deal. I mean, we know what it is. It's just the harder every other year you're going to have one less home game. So from a revenue standpoint, I'm sure that's an issue. But we're doing all right.
What did you think of the way the front played against Christ on Saturday night? It seemed like they hit him a bunch.
Our defensive front, we got there a little bit. Sometimes we got there in time, but there were other times we need to get there a little quicker, particularly when you're playing, man coverage with not much help. So there have been a couple of times we had to probably have a little more sense of urgency, but they played hard up front against a pretty good front.
With Falk, his numbers are, he's only got 5 interceptions for the amount that they throw the ball. Why do you think he's so?
They get rid of it really quick. A lot of times, as soon as it hits his hand, it's one step and the ball's gone. So he can throw it 80 times, and then 40 of them are catch and throws. So they get rid of it. When you're in a shotgun and you get rid of it quick as he does, it's hard to get there.
It seemed like DeAndre Miller's had as big of an impact lately as he did early in the season. Is that because he's not 100%?
Yeah, that was a big. He probably played, I don't know, 2 or 3 games at least. Certainly not 100%, and I don't know if he's still 100% right now, and if he is, it's still working your way into that. I think that's part of the, it sounds like excuses when you talk about guys being injured, but one thing that happens when guys are injured, they miss a lot of practice time. They can do all the rehab with the strength coaches and trainers you want, but there's nothing like playing. This is a game that you have to play to get better at, and when you're injured, it's hard to get better. You know, even for a veteran guy, you miss all those live reps. So, you know, if you can stay healthy, and a veteran, whether you're a veteran guy or a rookie, the more you play, the better you get if you can stay healthy.
Rich, getting back to on new, how difficult is it to balance that decision on when you're dealing with two quarterbacks on when to play one and when to play the other, especially in a situation where, you know, you're in a ball game down 10 and you've got a kid that hasn't played in 5-6 games and now you're putting him in.
Yeah, it can be a little tricky. I mean, it's you know, because that's a position only one guy can play at a time. You know, it's not like running back or receiver or even up front where you have multiple guys can roll in and out. It's a tricky deal, but I've done it before. And I would hope that the way we practiced, because we roll our quarterbacks in and out of practice with the first group, which is a little bit unconventional. A lot of people will have ones take, you know, 6 reps and 2s take 3 or something like that. For us, it's even, rolling guys in and out. But, you know, if a guy's ready to play, particularly a veteran, you know, it's not as different as maybe rolling a true freshman in there.
What would you say to a fan who says, boy, New Solomon's stats were terrific in 2014 and 2015. He only played 1 game this year, and now he's not playing in front of a passer who only completed 5 passes last week.
What would I say to the fans?
Yeah. Who wanted New Solomon in because of how well he did the last couple
Well,
of years?
it's like saying what other people's opinion to me is none of my business. What fans' opinion is of their situation is none of my business. You know, they're entitled to their opinion. They can say what they want. I think it's come to the game, buy a ticket, come to the game, and watch it and evaluate and hang out with your buddies and give your opinion, and that's part of the game of football. I think it's great. This is a game, football. There's so much strategy, so much opinions on it. I think it makes it fun and exciting. There's, you know, it's different than watching like a golf match and it's like one guy like, oh, he shanked it, or you know, he 4-putted. You know, what's his strategy not to 4-putt? Make it on your 3rd one. You know what I mean? Read your 3rd putt better. You know, something like that. But football is a different game. Everybody's I'm just saying, football is like you said, if you've not played or coached the position, it's easier to be, I don't say it's easier, but if your critical assessment of the guy probably doesn't warrant as much of my attention. If Joe Montana or Tom Brady or, you know, maybe even like Matt Scott would come in and say, Coach, you know, this is what I think watching the quarterbacks. I'd sit up and say, you know what, let me think about that. I may not agree with you, but let me think about that. But Joe Blow, that up in the stands, that never played or put on the cleats or played that position, you can have your opinion. Ain't it doesn't mean you gotta listen to it.
So Mike Leach really likes Pirates. Is there some sort of thing that, you know, like you have a specific interest that we don't know about that you might want to share?
I like quarterbacks. I like coaching.
Anything else for Coach?
Michael Barton got hurt in the first half, came back in, then he was out in the second. Is that a long-term?
Yeah, medical report comes out on Thursday, right?
I think so.
Stay tuned, Mike.
What the coach, just on that play where McCaffrey got out in the flat on the pass, what was the breakdown there?
Somebody didn't guard him that was supposed to. That's hard to figure out. That's a pretty good assessment. Like, he was wide open. Watching that, you're probably thinking somebody probably should have been guarding him. And that would have been 100% correct assessment. So that would have been a pretty good critical analysis right there. Yep, somebody should have guarded him and he didn't. Dang it. Wish he would have.
All right, thanks everyone.